All right, so today we're going to jump into something pretty interesting, I think,
Mm-hmm.
a recent decision from the Constitutional Court of Indonesia.
Okay.
And it has to do with the 2024 Buru Regency election.
All right.
And we've got the court's report right here.
Great.
And basically what we want to do is try to figure out why they've ordered a revote in one polling station and a recount in another.
Got it.
What does this tell us about election integrity?
Absolutely. I think this ruling gives you a really fascinating look at how election disputes work and the level of scrutiny involved, even at a very local level.
Right.
So it really emphasizes how important it is to have strong mechanisms to address any irregularities that might pop up.
So let's jump right in. And the first thing we're going to look at is this TPS-2 in Daboe Village.
Yeah.
And this is where the court found some issues with what appeared to be multiple voters.
Right, that's correct. And the investigation they did highlighted a couple of really interesting cases. One example is a woman named Jaminga, and her signature was on the attendance list at 2 different polling stations.
Really?
Yeah, TPS-2 Daboe and TPS-4 Daboe. So the court couldn't say for sure whether it was the same person voting twice or someone else using her name.
Oh, wow.
But either way, it raises questions, right?
Yeah. So it wasn't that they definitively proved someone voted twice.
Right.
It was just the fact that it was possible.
Exactly. And that uncertainty was enough to raise concerns about the legitimacy of the vote at TPS-2. And then there's another interesting case involving someone named Rumiati Fat Kepon,
Okay.
and then someone else with a very similar name, Rusmiati Fat Kepon.
Okay.
Different spellings. But get this, they have the same national identification number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a social security number, unique to each person.
Right.
And the Election Commission, the KPU, they only had one Rumiati Fat Kepon registered.
Oh, really?
So even though the names were slightly different, that ID number was the same, which obviously raises red flags.
Yeah.
So the court was basically saying, look, these instances of confirmed multiple voting or even the strong possibility of it, they threaten the rights of voters.
Right.
To protect that principle of one person, one vote, they ordered a whole new vote just for TPS-2.
Wow.
So what we're seeing here is the legal system stepping in to make sure that basic principle is upheld, even down to the level of individual polling stations.
So voter identification is a big deal, huh?
Huge, yeah.
So let's look at TPS-19 in Namlia Village now.
Okay.
And it seems like this time it wasn't about double voting. It was about the actual vote counts.
Yeah, there was this discrepancy where they had 8 more valid votes recorded than the total number of votes for all the candidates combined.
Really?
Yeah, which doesn't add up, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like this was actually discussed at the local level, like at the sub-district, and all the representatives from the different candidates were there, and they seemed to agree on the count.
So everyone was on the same page.
Yeah, it seemed that way, but the Constitutional Court said no. That local agreement doesn't justify the inconsistency on the official form, the Hasil form.
Yeah, I was looking at that form in the report.
Yeah, that's the crucial document. Legally certified, it records the vote tally at each station.
Right. So why do you think they prioritized those individual candidate counts over what everyone seemed to agree on locally?
Well, I think it shows how important accuracy is, in elections.
Okay.
Even if everyone agrees locally, the official record has to reflect what the voters actually chose. So to make sure they had the right count for each candidate, they ordered a recount of all the ballots in TPS-19.
Interesting. So just to recap what's happened here is that the Constitutional Court has partially annulled the Buru Regency KPU's decision.
That's right.
Specifically for these 2 polling stations we talked about.
Exactly.
TPS-2 and TPS-19.
Yep.
And they have to do this all over again, right?
Right. So the Buru Regency KPU, they have 45 days from the ruling to conduct the revote in Daboe and the recount in Namlia. And it's worth noting that all of this stemmed from a complaint by one of the candidate pairs. They were alleging a bunch of violations.
Okay.
But the court really focused on these 2 specific polling stations based on the evidence they had.
So they were very targeted in their response.
Exactly.
So ultimately, we have a revote because of potential double voting and a recount because of the discrepancy in the vote totals.
That's it in a nutshell.
Wow. It really shows you how important it is to keep accurate records and have transparent processes in elections.
It's crucial, yeah.
Even small irregularities can have huge consequences.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been really insightful. Thanks for walking me through all this.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, think about this. How can small administrative details at individual polling stations affect the outcome of an entire election? Pretty fascinating stuff. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Sounds good.
See ya.